Have you ever woken up in the morning and felt like your entire body was betraying you? Your joints ache with a deep, persistent pain that seems to seep into your very bones. Your muscles feel stiff and uncooperative, as if they've forgotten how to move smoothly. That nagging pain in your knees makes every step a reminder that something fundamental has changed in your body. The simple act of getting out of bed, which you once did without a second thought, now requires planning and careful movement. You're not alone in this struggle. Right now, as you're listening to this, millions of seniors around the world are waking up to the same reality. They're fighting an invisible enemy that's slowly but steadily stealing their quality of life, their independence, their confidence, and their joy. This enemy doesn't announce itself with dramatic symptoms or sudden onset. Instead, it creeps in gradually, so subtly that many people dismiss the early signs as just part of getting older. That enemy is chronic inflammation, and it's one of the most misunderstood and underestimated health challenges facing people over 60 today. But here's what gives me hope, and what should give you hope too. What if I told you that 3 simple fruits you can find at any grocery store in America, could turn the tide in this battle? What if the solution to reducing pain, improving mobility, restoring energy, and reclaiming your vitality was sitting right there in the produce aisle, waiting for you to discover their incredible, scientifically proven healing power? Today, we're going to explore 3 extraordinary fruits that have been rigorously studied and proven to fight inflammation more effectively than many pharmaceutical medications, but without the dangerous side effects, without the complicated dosing schedules, and without the enormous expense that comes with prescription drugs. These aren't exotic superfoods from distant rainforests that cost a fortune and are impossible to find. These are everyday fruits that have been quietly working miracles for people just like you, people who refused to accept that chronic pain and inflammation were simply inevitable parts of aging. Before we dive deep into these natural healers and explore the fascinating science behind their anti-inflammatory powers, I'd love to know where you're joining me from today. Drop a comment below and share your biggest challenge with inflammation. Are you dealing with joint pain that makes simple tasks feel overwhelming? Muscle stiffness that leaves you feeling like you've aged 10 years overnight? Or maybe that constant feeling of being tired and achy, like you're fighting a flu that never quite goes away? Your story matters deeply, and it might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to realize they're not alone in their struggle. And please don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because we're building something special here. We're creating a community of people who refuse to let age define their limitations, who believe that with the right knowledge and the right approach, we can feel stronger, healthier, and more vibrant than we ever thought possible. We're proving every day that the golden years don't have to be tarnished by unnecessary pain and suffering. Now let me tell you about Eleanor. She's 73 years old, a retired nurse who spent 40 years on her feet caring for others in a busy metropolitan hospital. Eleanor had dedicated her life to healing, to comforting families in their darkest hours, to being the steady, reliable presence that patients could count on when everything else felt uncertain. But 6 months ago, Eleanor could barely walk to her mailbox without wincing in pain that shot up her legs like lightning bolts. Her hands, the same hands that had comforted thousands of patients, had become so swollen and stiff that opening a jar of pickles brought tears to her eyes. The fingers that had once moved with practiced precision while starting IVs and administering medications now struggled with buttons and doorknobs. Her doctor, a colleague she had worked alongside for years, had mentioned arthritis with the kind of resigned acceptance that healthcare providers often develop. He suggested pain medications, talked about the inevitability of aging, and painted a picture of gradual decline that felt like a death sentence to someone who had always been so active and independent. But Eleanor wasn't ready to accept that this was just her new reality. She had spent her career watching people give up too easily, accepting limitations that weren't necessarily permanent. She started researching with the same methodical approach she had brought to her nursing practice, asking questions, reading medical journals, and talking to colleagues who specialized in geriatric care. That's when she discovered something that would change everything. 3 specific fruits that, when eaten consistently, had been shown in clinical studies to dramatically reduce inflammation markers in the blood. Eleanor began eating these fruits every single day, following the protocols she found in peer-reviewed research. She approached it like the medical intervention it was, tracking her symptoms, monitoring her progress, and staying consistent even when she didn't see immediate results. Within just 4 weeks, something remarkable happened that surprised even her, despite her medical background and understanding of how the body heals. The swelling in her hands decreased so noticeably that she could remove her wedding ring for the first time in months. The morning stiffness that had plagued her for years began to fade, replaced by a flexibility she thought was gone forever. She could walk further without pain, climb stairs without gripping the railing, and sleep through the night without being awakened by aching joints. For the first time in months, she felt like herself again, like the competent, energetic woman she had always been. What Eleanor discovered, and what I'm about to share with you in detail, isn't magic or wishful thinking. It's science. It's the incredible power of naturally occurring compounds that work synergistically with your body's own healing mechanisms to reduce inflammation, repair damaged tissue, and restore the energy and mobility you thought were gone forever. These compounds have been studied extensively in clinical trials. Their mechanisms of action are well understood, and their safety profiles are excellent. But before we reveal these 3 powerful fruits and explore exactly how they work in your body, we need to understand what we're fighting. Chronic inflammation isn't just about pain, though pain is certainly one of its most debilitating symptoms. It's a complex biological process that affects every system in your body, from your cardiovascular system to your brain, from your digestive system to your immune system. Understanding inflammation is the first step toward defeating it, and I want to make sure you have a clear picture of what's happening inside your body. Think of inflammation like a fire alarm system in your house. When there's a real emergency, like a kitchen fire or a break-in, you want that alarm to go off immediately and loudly. You want it to wake you up, get your attention, and mobilize you to take action. In your body, when there's a real threat, like an injury, infection, or tissue damage, inflammation is your body's way of calling for help. It sends healing cells rushing to the area, increases blood flow to deliver nutrients and oxygen, and begins the complex process of repair and regeneration. This is called acute inflammation, and it's not just normal, it's absolutely essential for survival. It's how your body heals cuts, fights off viruses and bacteria, recovers from sprains and strains, and repairs damage from normal wear and tear. Without the ability to mount an inflammatory response, even minor injuries could become life-threatening. Acute inflammation is characterized by the classic signs: redness, heat, swelling, pain, and loss of function. These symptoms might be uncomfortable, but they're signs that your body is working properly to protect and heal itself. But what happens when that fire alarm never turns off? What happens when your body thinks there's constantly an emergency, even when there isn't one? What happens when the inflammatory response that's supposed to be temporary and protective becomes chronic and destructive? That's chronic inflammation, and it's like having a fire alarm blaring in your house 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for months or even years. Eventually, the constant noise doesn't just become annoying and exhausting, it becomes actively destructive to the very structures it was meant to protect. Chronic inflammation is what makes your joints ache when you wake up in the morning, that deep, persistent pain that seems to have no specific cause but affects your entire body. It's what causes that persistent fatigue that no amount of rest seems to cure, leaving you feeling exhausted even after a full night's sleep. It's what makes your muscles feel tight and sore, even when you haven't done anything particularly strenuous. It's behind that brain fog that makes it hard to concentrate, remember names, or follow conversations the way you used to. And here's the truly frightening part that many people don't realize. Chronic inflammation doesn't just cause discomfort and reduced quality of life. It's been directly linked to virtually every major disease that affects older adults. Heart disease, the #1 killer of seniors, is fundamentally an inflammatory disease. The plaques that build up in arteries and cause heart attacks and strokes are formed through inflammatory processes. Type 2 diabetes involves chronic inflammation of the pancreas and other organs. Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia are increasingly understood as inflammatory diseases of the brain. Even many forms of cancer are triggered and fueled by chronic inflammation. For seniors, this creates a particularly devastating situation because our bodies naturally become less efficient at controlling inflammation as we age. The immune system that once protected us so effectively begins to malfunction, becoming less able to distinguish between real threats and harmless substances. It's like having a security system that's become so sensitive and confused that it treats every shadow as an intruder, every sound as a threat. This leads to a state of constant internal alarm that exhausts the body's resources and damages healthy tissue. The technical term for this age-related decline in immune function is immunosenescence, and it affects virtually everyone as they get older. The thymus gland, which produces T cells that coordinate immune responses, shrinks significantly with age. The bone marrow becomes less efficient at producing new immune cells. The existing immune cells become less responsive and more likely to attack the body's own tissues. This creates a perfect storm where the body is simultaneously more vulnerable to real threats, like infections, and more likely to mount inflammatory responses against its own healthy tissue. But here's where hope enters the picture, and this is what I want you to really understand. While we can't completely stop the aging process or reverse all the changes that come with it, we can absolutely influence how our bodies respond to inflammation. We can give our immune systems the tools they need to function more effectively and more appropriately. We can provide our cells with the specific nutrients they require to repair damage and regenerate healthy tissue. We can support our body's natural anti-inflammatory pathways and help restore the balance between inflammation and healing. And we can do all of this with something as simple, accessible, and delicious as fruit. Not just any fruit, but specific fruits that contain powerful concentrations of compounds that have been proven in clinical trials to reduce inflammation, protect cells from damage, and support the body's natural healing processes. The 3 fruits I'm about to share with you contain what scientists call bioactive compounds. These are naturally occurring chemicals that go far beyond basic nutrition to actually influence biological processes in your body. They include antioxidants, which neutralize damaging free radicals, polyphenols, which have anti-inflammatory and protective effects, enzymes that support digestion and reduce inflammation, and vitamins and minerals in forms that are easily absorbed and utilized by your body. These natural compounds work like a sophisticated pharmaceutical formula, but one that's been perfected by millions of years of evolution rather than developed in a laboratory. They're not foreign substances that your body has to figure out how to process. They're compounds that your cells recognize and know how to use effectively. They work synergistically, meaning that the combination is more powerful than any individual component would be on its own. Now let's talk about the first fruit that can revolutionize your health and help you reclaim your vitality. Cherries, particularly tart cherries. When most people think of cherries, they picture a sweet summer treat, maybe something you'd find in a pie or on top of ice cream. They might think of cherry blossoms in spring or remember picking cherries from a tree as a child. But researchers around the world have discovered that cherries, particularly tart or sour cherries, are one of nature's most powerful anti-inflammatory foods. In fact, studies conducted at major universities have shown that eating cherries can reduce inflammation markers in the blood by up to 40%, results that rival many prescription anti-inflammatory drugs. But what makes cherries so special? What gives them this remarkable power to fight inflammation and reduce pain? The answer lies in a group of compounds called anthocyanins, the same compounds that give cherries their beautiful deep red color. Nature often uses color as a signal of nutritional value, and the rich, dark color of tart cherries is a sign of their incredible concentration of these healing compounds. Anthocyanins belong to a larger family of compounds called flavonoids, which are found in many colorful fruits and vegetables. But the specific anthocyanins in tart cherries are particularly powerful when it comes to fighting inflammation. They work by blocking the production of inflammatory enzymes called cyclooxygenase, or COX enzymes. These are the same enzymes that are targeted by non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like ibuprofen and aspirin, but cherries block them naturally without the side effects that come with pharmaceutical drugs. But the anti-inflammatory power of cherries goes deeper than just blocking inflammatory enzymes. Research has shown that cherry consumption actually changes the expression of genes involved in inflammation. This means that eating cherries regularly doesn't just temporarily reduce inflammation, it actually helps reprogram your cells to be less likely to mount excessive inflammatory responses in the future. Let me tell you about Robert, a 78-year-old retired postal worker who had been struggling with gout for over a decade. Gout is a particularly painful form of arthritis that's caused by the buildup of uric acid crystals in the joints, leading to intense inflammation and excruciating pain. Robert's attacks were becoming more frequent and more severe as he aged. His big toe would swell to twice its normal size, turning angry red and becoming so tender that even the weight of a bedsheet was unbearable. The pain was so intense that Robert described it as feeling like someone was driving red-hot nails into his joint. He couldn't walk, couldn't wear shoes, and couldn't sleep when an attack hit. The unpredictability of the attacks was almost as devastating as the pain itself. Robert never knew when he'd be struck down, unable to participate in family gatherings or maintain his daily routines. Robert's doctor had prescribed various medications over the years: allopurinol to reduce uric acid production, colchicine for acute attacks, and powerful anti-inflammatory drugs to manage the pain. But the side effects were almost as troublesome as the gout itself. The medications caused nausea, diarrhea, kidney stress, and increased risk of infections. Robert felt like he was trapped between the pain of his condition and the side effects of his treatments. That's when Robert's daughter, who worked as a research librarian, came across a study from Boston University that had found a remarkable correlation between cherry consumption and reduced gout attacks. The study followed over 600 people with gout and found that those who ate cherries had a 60% lower risk of gout attacks compared to those who didn't eat cherries. Even more impressive, people who ate cherries and also took allopurinol had a 75% lower risk of attacks. Robert's daughter shared this research with him, but Robert was skeptical. He had been dealing with gout for so long, had tried so many treatments with limited success, that he found it hard to believe something as simple as eating fruit could make a difference when prescription drugs had failed to provide consistent relief. But Robert was also desperate enough to try anything. The quality of his life had deteriorated so much that he was willing to experiment with natural approaches alongside his medical treatment. He started eating a bowl of tart cherries every day, about 20 cherries, or roughly 3/4 of a cup. He chose tart cherries specifically because the research had shown they contained higher levels of anthocyanins than sweet cherries. For the first week, Nothing seemed to change. Robert continued to have the low-level joint discomfort that typically preceded his full-blown attacks. But by the second week, something subtle was different. The constant background ache that had become his normal seemed less intense. He noticed that his joints felt less tender when he pressed on them, and the morning stiffness that had been getting progressively worse was starting to improve. By the third week, the change was more noticeable. Robert realized that he was moving more freely, without the careful, guarded movements he had developed to protect his sensitive joints. He was sleeping better because he wasn't being awakened by pain, and he had more energy during the day because his sleep was more restorative. And by the fourth week, Robert achieved something remarkable. He had gone longer without a gout attack than he had in over 2 years. When he did eventually have an attack, it was noticeably less severe and resolved more quickly than his previous episodes. Over the following months, his attacks became less frequent, less intense, and more manageable. What happened to Robert wasn't a miracle or a placebo effect. It was the predictable result of giving his body the right tools to fight inflammation and manage uric acid levels. The anthocyanins in the cherries were working at a cellular level, reducing the production of inflammatory chemicals and helping his body process uric acid more efficiently. Research has shown that cherry consumption can actually increase the excretion of uric acid through the kidneys, while simultaneously reducing the inflammatory response to uric acid crystals that do form. But the benefits of cherries extend far beyond just reducing pain and managing specific conditions like gout. Research conducted at the University of Michigan found that people who eat cherries regularly have significantly lower levels of C-reactive protein in their blood. C-reactive protein, or CRP, is a marker that doctors use to measure systemic inflammation throughout the body. It's produced by the liver in response to inflammatory signals, and high levels are associated with increased risk of heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and other serious health conditions. In the Michigan study, participants who ate tart cherries for 12 weeks saw their CRP levels drop by an average of 25%. This is significant because every 1-point reduction in CRP corresponds to a substantial decrease in cardiovascular risk. The participants also showed improvements in other inflammatory markers, including interleukin-6 and tumor necrosis factor alpha, both of which play key roles in chronic inflammatory diseases. Cherries also contain natural compounds that help improve sleep quality, which creates a powerful positive feedback loop for inflammation reduction. Many seniors struggle with insomnia or poor sleep quality, which actually makes inflammation worse. When you don't get enough quality sleep, your body produces more inflammatory chemicals like cortisol and inflammatory cytokines. It's a vicious cycle. Inflammation keeps you awake with pain and discomfort, and being awake makes inflammation worse. Cherries contain natural melatonin, the hormone that regulates your sleep-wake cycle. Unlike synthetic melatonin supplements, which can sometimes cause grogginess or disrupt natural hormone production, the melatonin in cherries is present in small amounts that work gently with your body's natural circadian rhythms. Studies have shown that people who drink tart cherry juice in the evening fall asleep faster, sleep more deeply, and wake up feeling more refreshed. This improvement in sleep quality has far-reaching effects on inflammation and overall health. During deep sleep, your body produces growth hormone, which is essential for tissue repair and regeneration. Deep sleep is also when your lymphatic system, which is like your body's garbage disposal system, becomes most active in clearing toxins and inflammatory waste products from your brain and other tissues. And here's something that might surprise you. You don't need to eat fresh cherries to get these remarkable benefits. Tart cherry juice, frozen cherries, and even dried cherries without added sugar all contain these powerful anti-inflammatory compounds. This makes cherry consumption practical and affordable year-round, regardless of the season or your location. Tart cherry juice concentrate is particularly convenient because it's shelf-stable, highly concentrated, and can be diluted to make multiple servings. Many people find it easier to drink a small glass of cherry juice than to eat fresh cherries every day. Frozen tart cherries are often less expensive than fresh ones and can be added to smoothies, oatmeal, or yogurt. They're picked at peak ripeness and flash frozen, which actually preserves their nutritional content better than fresh cherries that may have traveled long distances or sat in storage. For those watching their blood sugar levels, cherries have some unique advantages. While they do contain natural sugars, they also have a relatively low glycemic index, which means they won't cause the rapid spikes in blood sugar that can worsen inflammation. The fiber in whole cherries helps slow the absorption of sugars, and the anthocyanins themselves have been shown to improve insulin sensitivity. In fact, some studies suggest that the antioxidants in cherries may actually help protect the pancreatic cells that produce insulin, potentially reducing the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. For people who already have diabetes, the anti-inflammatory effects of cherries can help reduce some of the complications associated with chronic high blood sugar, including nerve damage, kidney problems, and cardiovascular disease. The recommended amount for therapeutic benefit is about 20 tart cherries per day, which equals approximately 3/4 of a cup of fresh cherries or 8 ounces of tart cherry juice. If you're using dried cherries, about a 1/4 cup is equivalent, but make sure to choose varieties without added sugar or preservatives. You can eat them fresh as a snack, add them to your morning oatmeal or yogurt, blend them into smoothies with other anti-inflammatory ingredients, or simply drink a glass of tart cherry juice with your breakfast or dinner. Many people find that having cherry juice in the evening helps them sleep better, which enhances all the other benefits. But cherries are just the beginning of our anti-inflammatory arsenal. Our second fruit is even more accessible, more versatile, and might already be sitting in your refrigerator right now. Let me introduce you to the remarkable healing power of blueberries. Blueberries might be small, but they pack an enormous nutritional punch that can transform your health in ways you never imagined possible. If cherries are nature's anti-inflammatory medicine, then blueberries are nature's antioxidant powerhouse, cellular protectors, and brain boosters, all rolled into one tiny, delicious package. What makes blueberries so extraordinarily special? It's their incredible concentration of antioxidants, particularly a group of compounds called anthocyanins, similar to those found in cherries, but with some unique properties. Blueberries have one of the highest antioxidant contents of any commonly available food. In fact, when researchers measure the antioxidant capacity of foods using a scale called ORAC, which stands for Oxygen Radical Absorbance Capacity, blueberries consistently rank in the top tier. But what exactly are antioxidants, and why are they so crucial for fighting inflammation and maintaining health as we age? To understand this, we need to talk about free radicals, which are unstable molecules that are constantly being produced in your body as a byproduct of normal cellular metabolism. Think of free radicals like sparks from a campfire. A few sparks here and there are normal and manageable, but when you have thousands of sparks flying around constantly, they can start fires everywhere they land. Free radicals are missing an electron, which makes them highly unstable and reactive. In their quest to become stable, they steal electrons from other molecules in your body, including the membranes of your cells, your DNA, your proteins, and your fats. This process is called oxidative stress, and it's one of the primary drivers of aging and chronic disease. When free radicals damage cellular structures, your immune system responds by mounting an inflammatory response to clean up the damage. This is appropriate and necessary in small amounts, but when oxidative stress is constant and overwhelming, it leads to chronic inflammation. It's like having a cleanup crew working around the clock because there's always more damage being created faster than it can be repaired. Antioxidants work by neutralizing free radicals before they can cause damage. They donate electrons to stabilize free radicals without becoming unstable themselves. It's like having a protective shield around your cells that catches those sparks before they can start fires. The more antioxidants you have in your system, the better protected you are from the oxidative damage that leads to chronic inflammation. But here's where blueberries really shine. They don't just prevent damage, they actually help repair damage that has already occurred. The anthocyanins in blueberries have been shown to cross the blood-brain barrier, which means they can directly protect and repair brain cells. This is why research has consistently shown that people who eat blueberries regularly have improved cognitive function, better memory, and reduced risk of age-related mental decline. Let me share Margaret's story with you. Margaret is 71 years old, a retired elementary school teacher who had always prided herself on her sharp mind and quick wit. She had spent 35 years managing classrooms full of energetic children, remembering hundreds of names, keeping track of complex lesson plans, and handling multiple tasks simultaneously with ease and confidence. But over the past 2 years, Margaret had been experiencing what her doctor called normal age-related cognitive decline. She was forgetting names of people she had known for years, losing track of conversations midway through, and struggling to remember where she put things. Simple tasks that had once been automatic, like following a recipe or managing her finances, were becoming frustratingly difficult. Margaret's family was worried, and Margaret herself was terrified. Her mother had developed Alzheimer's disease, and Margaret couldn't shake the fear that she was following the same path. Every forgotten name, every misplaced key, every moment of confusion felt like evidence that her mind was slipping away from her. The changes weren't just cognitive. Margaret also noticed that she was more tired than she had ever been, despite getting what seemed like adequate sleep. She ached all over, especially in the mornings, and simple activities like grocery shopping left her exhausted. Her doctor had run various tests, but found nothing specifically wrong. Everything was attributed to normal aging, but Margaret felt like she was aging faster than she should be. Margaret's daughter, who worked as a clinical nutritionist, had been reading research about the connection between inflammation and cognitive decline. She knew that chronic inflammation in the brain, called neuroinflammation, was increasingly understood as a major factor in memory problems and dementia. She suggested that her mother try incorporating specific anti-inflammatory foods into her diet, starting with a cup of blueberries every morning. Margaret was willing to try anything that might help her feel more like herself again. She started adding fresh blueberries to her breakfast routine, sometimes mixing them with oatmeal, sometimes adding them to yogurt, and sometimes just eating them plain while reading the morning paper. She didn't expect dramatic changes, but she hoped that even small improvements might help slow what felt like an inevitable decline. Within just 2 weeks, Margaret noticed something subtle but significant. She was thinking more clearly in the mornings. The mental fog that had become her normal was starting to lift. Conversations flowed more easily, and she stopped losing her train of thought in the middle of sentences. She found herself remembering details from the previous day more clearly and feeling more confident in social situations. But the changes went beyond just mental clarity. Margaret also noticed that the chronic aching in her shoulders and back was starting to improve. She was sleeping more deeply and waking up feeling more refreshed. She had more energy during the day and felt more optimistic about the future, which had a positive effect on her overall mood and motivation. After 3 months of consistent blueberry consumption, Margaret's improvements were dramatic enough that her family and friends commented on the change. She seemed more like her old self, more engaged and energetic. Her doctor was amazed when her annual blood work showed significantly lower levels of inflammatory markers, including C-reactive protein and homocysteine, both of which had been elevated in previous years. What was happening in Margaret's body was a perfect example of how reducing inflammation can have far-reaching effects throughout your entire system. The antioxidants in the blueberries weren't just protecting her brain cells from damage, they were reducing inflammation throughout her body, allowing her natural healing and repair processes to work more effectively. The research supporting blueberries' effects on cognitive function is extensive and impressive. A study published in the Annals of Neurology followed over 16,000 women for several years, and found that those who ate the most blueberries and strawberries had significantly slower rates of cognitive decline compared to those who ate the least. The difference was equivalent to delaying cognitive aging by up to 2.5 years. Another study conducted at the University of Cincinnati gave older adults with mild cognitive impairment either blueberry juice or a placebo for 12 weeks. Those who consumed the blueberry juice showed significant improvements in memory tests, and brain imaging studies revealed increased activity in brain regions associated with learning and memory. The mechanisms behind these cognitive benefits are fascinating and complex. The anthocyanins in blueberries help increase the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, which is like fertilizer for brain cells. BDNF promotes the growth of new neurons and the formation of new connections between brain cells, essentially helping your brain rewire itself to function more efficiently. Blueberries also help improve communication between brain cells by reducing inflammation in the neural pathways and supporting the production of neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. These chemical messengers are essential for mood, motivation, and cognitive function, and their production often declines with age and chronic inflammation. But the benefits of blueberries extend far beyond the brain. These remarkable little fruits are particularly effective at reducing inflammation in the cardiovascular system, which is crucial for seniors who want to maintain heart health and circulation. Studies have shown that people who eat blueberries regularly have lower blood pressure, improved arterial function, and reduced risk of heart disease. One study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that eating just 1 cup of blueberries daily for 8 weeks resulted in sustained reductions in blood pressure and improvements in arterial stiffness. The participants' arteries became more flexible and responsive, which is important for maintaining good circulation and reducing the risk of heart attacks and strokes. The anti-inflammatory compounds in blueberries also help protect your eyes from age-related damage. Many seniors worry about macular degeneration, cataracts, and other vision problems that can significantly impact quality of life and independence. The anthocyanins in blueberries help strengthen the tiny blood vessels in your eyes and protect the retina from oxidative damage caused by light exposure and aging. Research has shown that people who eat blueberries regularly have a lower risk of developing age-related macular degeneration and cataracts. The antioxidants help maintain the health of the macula, the part of the retina responsible for central vision, and support the production of rhodopsin, a protein essential for night vision. And here's something that makes blueberries particularly special and practical. They're one of the few fruits that actually become more nutritious when they're frozen. The freezing process causes ice crystals to form inside the berries, which breaks down the cell walls slightly and makes the antioxidants more bioavailable to your body. This means that frozen blueberries, which are available year-round and often less expensive than fresh ones, are just as beneficial, if not more so, than fresh berries. This is wonderful news for people who want to eat blueberries consistently, regardless of the season, or who are watching their grocery budget. Frozen blueberries can be added directly to smoothies, stirred into hot oatmeal, or thawed and eaten fresh. They maintain their nutritional value for months when properly stored, making it easy to always have this powerful anti-inflammatory food available. You don't need to eat enormous quantities of blueberries to get these remarkable benefits. About 3/4 of a cup per day provides an optimal dose of antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds. This is roughly equivalent to 100 to 150 individual berries, depending on their size. You can eat them fresh as a snack, add them to yogurt or cereal for breakfast, blend them into smoothies with other healthy ingredients, mix them into pancake or muffin batter for a nutritious treat, or even add them to salads for a burst of color and flavor. Many people find that having blueberries as part of their morning routine helps them start the day with sustained energy and mental clarity. For those concerned about blood sugar levels, blueberries have some unique advantages that make them particularly suitable for people with diabetes or prediabetes. While they do contain natural sugars, they also have a relatively low glycemic index and are high in fiber, which helps slow the absorption of sugars into your bloodstream. The fiber in blueberries also feeds the beneficial bacteria in your gut microbiome, which play an increasingly recognized role in regulating inflammation throughout your body. A healthy gut microbiome helps maintain the integrity of your intestinal lining, prevents harmful bacteria from proliferating, and produces short-chain fatty acids that have anti-inflammatory effects throughout your body. Research has shown that people who eat blueberries regularly have more diverse and healthy gut bacteria compared to those who don't. This is important because the gut microbiome is intimately connected to your immune system, with about 70% of your immune cells located in or around your digestive tract. A healthy gut microbiome helps ensure that your immune system responds appropriately to threats while avoiding unnecessary inflammatory responses. But now, let me introduce you to the third and perhaps most surprising fruit in our anti-inflammatory arsenal. This one might shock you because it's not typically thought of as a health food, and many people avoid it because they think it's too high in sugar or too acidic. But the research on its anti-inflammatory properties is absolutely astounding, and the mechanism by which it works is unlike anything else in the plant kingdom. I'm talking about pineapple. Yes, this tropical fruit that most people associate with vacation drinks, Hawaiian pizza, or upside-down cake is actually one of nature's most potent anti-inflammatory medicines. And the secret lies in a remarkable enzyme called bromelain that's found almost exclusively in pineapples, particularly in the core of the fruit that most people throw away. Bromelain is a protein-digesting enzyme, which means it breaks down proteins into smaller, more manageable components. This might not sound particularly exciting until you understand that many of the inflammatory processes in your body involve proteins that can become misfolded, clumped together, or deposited in places where they don't belong. Bromelain helps break down these problematic proteins and clear them from your system. This enzyme has been used medicinally for centuries by indigenous peoples in Central and South America who discovered that pineapple could help heal wounds, reduce swelling, and ease digestive problems. But only recently has Western science begun to understand just how powerful and versatile bromelain really is. Here's what makes bromelain so uniquely effective. It doesn't just reduce inflammation by blocking inflammatory pathways, although it does that too. It actually helps break down the proteins that cause inflammatory responses in your body, essentially cleaning up the molecular debris that keeps your immune system on high alert. It's like having a microscopic cleanup crew working around the clock to clear away the accumulated damage that triggers chronic inflammation. Clinical studies have shown that bromelain is as effective as some non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs for reducing pain and swelling, but without any of the dangerous side effects that make long-term use of NSAIDs so problematic. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like ibuprofen, naproxen, and aspirin can cause stomach ulcers, kidney damage, increased blood pressure, and elevated risk of heart problems when used regularly over time. The mechanism by which bromelain works is fascinating and complex. It blocks the production of inflammatory chemicals called prostaglandins and leukotrienes, which are responsible for pain, swelling, and fever. But it also does something that pharmaceutical anti-inflammatory drugs can't do. It helps clear away damaged tissue and cellular debris that accumulates at sites of inflammation. When you have chronic inflammation, your body's cleanup mechanisms can become overwhelmed, leading to the accumulation of damaged proteins, dead cells, and inflammatory waste products. This accumulated debris perpetuates the inflammatory response, creating a vicious cycle where inflammation leads to more damage, which leads to more inflammation. Bromelain helps break this cycle by literally digesting the protein-based debris that fuels chronic inflammation. Let me tell you about James, a 74-year-old retired carpenter who had been dealing with chronic knee pain for over 5 years. James had spent 43 years working with his hands, building homes, installing cabinets, and creating beautiful woodwork that would last for generations. His knees had taken a beating over the decades from climbing ladders, kneeling on hard floors, and carrying heavy materials. But the pain that developed after his retirement was different from the normal aches and soreness he had experienced during his working years. The pain was constant, deep, and debilitating. It felt like someone had poured ground glass into his knee joints. Every step sent sharp shooting pains up his thighs, and the stiffness was so severe that he had to hold onto furniture to stand up from sitting. The simple act of getting out of bed in the morning required planning and preparation, and he often had to sit on the edge of the bed for several minutes, working up the courage to put weight on his legs. James had given up many of the activities that had brought him joy throughout his life. His morning walks, which had been a cherished ritual for over 20 years, became impossible. His weekend woodworking projects, where he created toys for his grandchildren and furniture for his family, had to be abandoned because he couldn't spend more than a few minutes standing at his workbench. Even simple tasks like grocery shopping became ordeals that required careful planning and frequent rest breaks. The emotional toll was perhaps even more devastating than the physical pain. James felt like he had lost his identity as a capable, independent man. He had always been the person his family called when something needed to be fixed or built. Now he felt useless, dependent, and old in a way that went far beyond his chronological age. Depression began to creep in as he faced the possibility that this was simply his new reality. James's doctor had recommended total knee replacement surgery for both knees, describing the extensive joint damage visible on X-rays and MRI scans. The cartilage was severely worn, bone was rubbing against bone, and inflammatory tissue was causing additional swelling and pain. The surgical solution would involve months of recovery, extensive physical therapy, and significant risks given James's age and overall health status. While James understood that surgery might eventually be necessary, he wanted to explore every other option first. He had seen too many friends go through difficult recoveries from joint replacement surgeries, and some never fully regained their mobility or independence. He was determined to find alternatives that might allow him to avoid or at least postpone such invasive procedures. James's physical therapist, a young woman who specialized in working with older adults, mentioned that some of her patients had found significant relief by incorporating natural anti-inflammatory approaches into their treatment plans. She specifically mentioned pineapple and its enzyme bromelain, explaining that several of her clients had reported substantial improvements in pain and mobility after adding fresh pineapple to their daily routine. James was deeply skeptical. He had tried numerous treatments over the years, from prescription anti-inflammatory drugs to expensive supplements, from heat therapy to acupuncture. The idea that eating fruit could help when powerful medications had barely made a dent in his pain seemed almost insulting. How could something so simple and pleasant possibly address such severe, chronic pain? But James was also desperate and willing to try anything that might help him avoid surgery or at least reduce his dependence on pain medications, which were causing stomach problems and making him feel foggy and disconnected. He figured he had nothing to lose by eating pineapple, and at worst, he would be getting some extra vitamins and fiber in his diet. James started eating 1 cup of fresh pineapple every morning with his breakfast, making sure to include some of the core, even though it was tough and not particularly pleasant to eat. He had read that the core contained the highest concentration of bromelain, so he forced himself to chew the fibrous center, even though it was challenging for his aging teeth and sensitive gums. For the first few days, nothing changed. James continued to experience the same constant aching, the same morning stiffness, and the same sharp pains when he moved in certain ways. He began to feel foolish for believing that fruit could help where modern medicine had failed. But his physical therapist had advised him to be patient and consistent, explaining that natural approaches often took longer to show effects than pharmaceutical interventions. By the end of the first week, James noticed something so subtle that he almost dismissed it. His knee felt slightly less stiff when he got out of bed in the morning. The usual 20-minute period of careful movement and gradual warming up that he needed before he could walk normally seemed to be shortening slightly. The change was small enough that he wondered if he was imagining it or if it was simply a result of wishful thinking. But by the second week, the improvement was undeniable. The constant background ache that had become his normal was definitely less intense. He found himself moving more freely around his house, no longer planning every movement to minimize pain. He could stand up from his favorite recliner without the usual sharp shooting pain, and he was able to climb the stairs to the second floor without gripping the railing and pulling himself up 1 step at a time. By the third week, James experienced something he hadn't felt in years. He woke up one morning without immediate knee pain. For a few moments, lying in bed, he felt like his old self again. When he did get up, there was still some stiffness and discomfort, but it was manageable rather than overwhelming. That afternoon, he ventured into his workshop for the first time in months and spent 30 minutes working on a small project without having to stop due to pain. By the fourth week, the transformation was dramatic enough that James's wife and adult children commented on the change. He was walking more normally, standing straighter, and had regained some of the confidence and independence that chronic pain had stolen from him. He was able to take short walks around the neighborhood, something he hadn't done in over a year. His mood improved significantly as he realized that he wasn't necessarily facing an inevitable decline into complete disability. Most remarkably, when James returned to his orthopedic surgeon for his regularly scheduled appointment, the doctor was amazed by the improvement in his range of motion and the reduction in visible swelling around his knees. While the underlying joint damage was still present on imaging studies, the inflammatory component had decreased significantly. The surgeon agreed to postpone the discussion of knee replacement surgery for at least 6 months to see if the improvements continued. What happened to James is supported by extensive scientific research on bromelain's anti-inflammatory effects. Studies have shown that bromelain can reduce swelling by up to 50% and significantly decrease pain levels in people with osteoarthritis and other inflammatory joint conditions. It works by multiple mechanisms that complement each other synergistically. First, bromelain blocks the production of inflammatory prostaglandins and leukotrienes, the same chemicals targeted by prescription anti-inflammatory drugs. But unlike NSAIDs, which can have serious side effects, bromelain does this naturally and safely, without disrupting the protective mechanisms that prevent stomach ulcers or kidney damage. Second, bromelain helps improve circulation to inflamed tissues by breaking down fibrin, a protein that can form clots and impede blood flow. Better circulation means more oxygen and nutrients can reach damaged tissues, while inflammatory waste products can be cleared away more efficiently. This creates an environment that supports healing rather than perpetuating inflammation. Third, bromelain has what scientists call mucolytic properties, meaning it helps break down thick, sticky secretions that can accumulate in inflamed tissues. This is similar to how it helps clear mucus from the respiratory system when you have a cold, but in joints and other tissues, it helps clear away the protein-rich fluid that contributes to swelling and stiffness. But bromelain's benefits extend far beyond just reducing joint pain and inflammation. This remarkable enzyme has been shown to improve digestion, particularly protein digestion, which becomes less efficient as we age. Many seniors struggle with digestive issues like bloating, gas, and discomfort after eating protein-rich meals. Bromelain helps break down dietary proteins more completely, reducing the digestive burden and preventing the formation of partially digested proteins that can trigger inflammatory responses in the gut. The digestive benefits of bromelain are particularly important because gut health is intimately connected to systemic inflammation. When proteins aren't properly digested, they can ferment in the intestines, leading to the production of inflammatory compounds and the growth of harmful bacteria. This gut inflammation can then spread throughout the body, contributing to joint pain, muscle aches, and other inflammatory symptoms. Bromelain also supports immune function in unique ways. While most anti-inflammatory substances work by suppressing immune responses, bromelain actually helps modulate immune function, making it more efficient and appropriate. It enhances the activity of immune cells when they're needed to fight infections or clear damaged tissue, but it also helps prevent excessive inflammatory responses that damage healthy tissue. Research has shown that bromelain can help reduce the risk of blood clots by breaking down fibrin and other clotting proteins. This is particularly beneficial for seniors who have higher risks of cardiovascular events like heart attacks and strokes. However, this blood-thinning effect means that people taking anticoagulant medications should consult with their healthcare providers before significantly increasing their pineapple consumption. Pineapple is also exceptionally rich in vitamin C, providing more than 100% of the daily recommended intake in just 1 cup. Vitamin C is essential for collagen production, and collagen is the primary structural protein in joints, skin, blood vessels, and other tissues. As we age, our bodies produce less collagen naturally, which contributes to joint stiffness, skin aging, and weakened blood vessels. The vitamin C in pineapple helps support your body's natural collagen production, keeping joints more flexible and resilient. It also acts as a powerful antioxidant, protecting cells from free radical damage and supporting the immune system. Unlike synthetic vitamin C supplements, the vitamin C in whole pineapple is accompanied by other nutrients and compounds that enhance its absorption and effectiveness. Pineapple is also a good source of manganese, a trace mineral that's essential for bone formation, wound healing, and antioxidant enzyme function. Many people don't get enough manganese in their diets, particularly if they eat a lot of processed foods and not enough fresh fruits and vegetables. Manganese deficiency can contribute to weakened bones, poor wound healing, and increased susceptibility to oxidative stress. Now, here's something crucial about eating pineapple for its anti-inflammatory benefits. Timing and preparation matter significantly. Bromelain is most effective when taken on an empty stomach because when there's food in your stomach, especially protein, the bromelain gets used up digesting that food rather than providing systemic anti-inflammatory effects. This means that eating pineapple first thing in the morning before breakfast or as a snack between meals when your stomach is relatively empty will give you the maximum anti-inflammatory benefit. If you eat pineapple with a meal, you'll still get the vitamin C, manganese, and other nutrients, but much of the bromelain will be used for digestion rather than inflammation reduction. Fresh pineapple is definitely best for bromelain content, as the enzyme activity decreases significantly during processing, canning, and cooking. Heat destroys bromelain, so canned pineapple, while still nutritious in other ways, won't provide the anti-inflammatory benefits we're looking for. When selecting a fresh pineapple, look for one that gives slightly when pressed at the base and has a sweet, fragrant smell. The leaves should be green and fresh-looking, not brown or wilted. Don't worry if the pineapple isn't perfectly ripe when you buy it. Pineapples will continue to ripen at room temperature. You can speed up the ripening process by storing the pineapple upside down for a day or two, which helps distribute the sugars more evenly throughout the fruit. The core of the pineapple, which most people discard, actually contains the highest concentration of bromelain. While it's tougher and less sweet than the flesh, including some core in your daily portion will maximize the anti-inflammatory benefits. You can chop it finely and mix it with the regular fruit, or even blend it into smoothies where the texture won't be as noticeable. You can also find bromelain supplements if fresh pineapple isn't available or convenient, but whole fruit provides additional nutrients, fiber, and other beneficial compounds that supplements don't contain. If you do choose to supplement, look for enteric-coated capsules that will protect the enzyme from stomach acid, and make sure to take them on an empty stomach for maximum effectiveness. About 1 cup of fresh pineapple per day provides a therapeutic dose of bromelain for most people. This is roughly equivalent to 1,000–2,000 milligrams of bromelain, which is the dose that has been used in most clinical studies. You can eat it fresh as a morning snack, add it to smoothies with other anti-inflammatory ingredients, or even grill it lightly to bring out its natural sweetness while preserving most of the enzyme activity. Now that we've explored these 3 powerful anti-inflammatory fruits in detail, let's talk about how to incorporate them into your daily routine for maximum benefit and create a sustainable lifestyle that supports long-term health and vitality. Because knowing about these fruits is one thing, but consistently eating them in the right amounts and combinations is what will actually transform your health and quality of life. The key to success with any nutritional intervention is making it sustainable, enjoyable, and integrated into your existing lifestyle. You don't want eating these fruits to feel like taking medicine or completing a chore. You want it to be a pleasant, anticipated part of your day that you actually look forward to and that fits naturally into your routine. Here's a comprehensive daily routine that thousands of people have found effective and sustainable. Start your morning with tart cherry juice or fresh cherries about 30 minutes before breakfast. This gives you an immediate dose of anti-inflammatory anthocyanins and helps set a positive, health-focused tone for the day. The natural sugars provide gentle energy without the crash associated with caffeine or processed foods. About 30 minutes after your cherry consumption, have your regular breakfast, which should include 3/4 of a cup of blueberries. You can add them to oatmeal or cereal, mix them into yogurt or cottage cheese, blend them into a smoothie with protein powder, or simply eat them fresh alongside your usual breakfast foods. The fiber and antioxidants in blueberries help stabilize blood sugar and provide sustained energy throughout the morning. Later in the morning or early afternoon, when your stomach is relatively empty, enjoy 1 cup of fresh pineapple. This timing ensures that the bromelain can work most effectively as an anti-inflammatory agent rather than being used up in protein digestion. Many people find that having pineapple mid-morning helps bridge the gap between breakfast and lunch while providing a natural energy boost. If this seems like a lot of fruit, remember that we're talking about approximately 2.5 cups total spread throughout the day. That's well within the recommended daily intake of fruits and vegetables for optimal health, and these aren't enormous portions. Each serving is carefully calculated to provide therapeutic doses of anti-inflammatory compounds without excessive calories or sugar. You can also rotate these fruits if eating all 3 every day feels overwhelming, or if you want to add variety to your routine. Some people prefer to focus intensively on 1 fruit per week, rotating through the 3 in cycles. Others eat all 3 fruits but in smaller portions. Still others choose 2 of the 3 fruits and alternate which combination they use on different days. The most important factor is consistency over time, not perfection every single day. Your body responds to patterns and regular exposure to these beneficial compounds. Missing a day here and there won't undo your progress, but irregular consumption won't provide the cumulative benefits that come from sustained intake. For those concerned about blood sugar management, spreading the fruit consumption throughout the day and pairing each serving with protein or healthy fats can help slow the absorption of natural sugars and prevent spikes in blood glucose. For example, you might have blueberries with Greek yogurt, pineapple with a small handful of almonds, or cherries with a piece of string cheese. Many people find it helpful to prepare these fruits in advance to make daily consumption more convenient. You can wash and portion blueberries for an entire week, storing them in the refrigerator in single-serving containers. Fresh pineapple can be cut up and stored in airtight containers for up to 5 days. You can even make ice cubes from tart cherry juice that you can add to water throughout the day for a refreshing anti-inflammatory drink. Meal planning and preparation become much easier when you think of these fruits as medicine rather than just snacks. Just as you wouldn't skip taking a prescribed medication, prioritizing these fruits helps ensure that you get consistent anti-inflammatory support. Consider setting reminders on your phone or keeping a simple chart to track your daily fruit consumption until it becomes an automatic habit. But here's something crucial that many people overlook. These fruits work best as part of an overall anti-inflammatory lifestyle approach. While they're incredibly powerful on their own, their effects are magnified and sustained when combined with other evidence-based health practices that support your body's natural healing mechanisms. Sleep quality, for example, is just as important as nutrition when it comes to controlling inflammation and supporting overall health. Poor sleep actually increases inflammatory markers in your blood, which can partially cancel out some of the benefits you're getting from your anti-inflammatory diet. During sleep, your body produces growth hormone, repairs damaged tissues, and clears inflammatory waste products from your brain and other organs. The good news is that the natural melatonin in cherries can help improve your sleep quality, creating a positive feedback loop where better nutrition leads to better sleep, which leads to less inflammation, which leads to better overall health. Many people find that having tart cherry juice in the evening helps them fall asleep faster and sleep more deeply. Gentle, regular exercise is another crucial component of an anti-inflammatory lifestyle. You don't need to run marathons or lift heavy weights to get significant benefits. Simple activities like walking, swimming, tai chi, or yoga can dramatically reduce inflammation while improving strength, balance, flexibility, and cardiovascular health. The key is consistency rather than intensity. A 30-minute walk every day is far more beneficial than an intense workout once a week, followed by 6 days of inactivity. Exercise helps move lymphatic fluid, which carries away inflammatory waste products. It also stimulates the production of anti-inflammatory compounds and helps maintain healthy body weight, which reduces the burden on joints and organs. Stress management is equally important and often overlooked. Chronic psychological stress triggers the release of inflammatory chemicals like cortisol and inflammatory cytokines. These stress hormones can overwhelm even the most anti-inflammatory diet, making it essential to find healthy ways to manage the mental and emotional challenges that come with aging. Effective stress management looks different for different people. Some find relief through meditation, deep breathing exercises, or mindfulness practices. Others benefit from spending time in nature, engaging in creative hobbies, maintaining social connections, or participating in spiritual or religious activities. The key is finding approaches that work for your personality and lifestyle and practicing them consistently. Hydration also plays a significant role in managing inflammation. Many seniors don't drink enough water, which can worsen inflammation and make it harder for your body to process and eliminate toxins and inflammatory waste products. Dehydration thickens the blood, making circulation less efficient and preventing nutrients from reaching cells effectively. Aim for at least 6 to 8 glasses of water per day, and consider adding slices of fresh pineapple or a splash of tart cherry juice to make it more appealing. Herbal teas like green tea, ginger tea, or turmeric tea can also contribute to your fluid intake while providing additional anti-inflammatory compounds. The quality of your overall diet matters tremendously as well. While these three fruits provide powerful anti-inflammatory benefits, they work best when combined with other whole, minimally processed foods. Focus on vegetables, particularly leafy greens and colorful varieties that provide additional antioxidants and phytonutrients. Include healthy fats, like those found in olive oil, avocados, nuts, and fatty fish, which provide omega-3 fatty acids that have anti-inflammatory effects. Limit or avoid foods that promote inflammation, including refined sugars, processed meats, trans fats, and excessive amounts of refined carbohydrates. These foods trigger inflammatory responses and can counteract the benefits of your anti-inflammatory fruit consumption. Now let's address some common concerns and questions that people often have about incorporating these fruits into their daily routine, because understanding potential challenges and solutions helps ensure long-term success. One of the most frequent questions is whether these fruits are safe for people with diabetes or blood sugar issues. The answer is generally yes, but with some important considerations and modifications. All three fruits contain natural sugars, but they also contain fiber, antioxidants, and other compounds that help regulate blood sugar absorption and improve insulin sensitivity. If you have diabetes or pre-diabetes, it's especially important to spread your fruit consumption throughout the day, rather than eating large amounts at once. This helps prevent blood sugar spikes and allows your body to process the natural sugars more effectively. You should also pair fruit with protein or healthy fats to further slow sugar absorption. Monitor your blood sugar levels more frequently when you first start incorporating these fruits, and work with your healthcare provider to adjust medications if necessary. Many people with diabetes find that the anti-inflammatory effects of these fruits actually help improve their blood sugar control over time, as chronic inflammation is a major contributor to insulin resistance. Another common concern is whether these fruits interact with medications. This is a legitimate concern that should be taken seriously. Bromelain in pineapple can enhance the effects of blood-thinning medications like warfarin, aspirin, or clopidogrel, potentially increasing bleeding risk. If you're taking anticoagulants, discuss pineapple consumption with your doctor and consider having your clotting times monitored more frequently. Tart cherry juice may interact with certain sleep medications or sedatives, potentially enhancing their effects due to its natural melatonin content. If you're taking prescription sleep aids, start with small amounts of cherry juice and monitor how you feel. Some people worry about the cost of eating fresh fruit every day, especially organic varieties. While high-quality fresh fruit can be expensive, there are several strategies to make this approach more affordable without compromising the health benefits. Frozen fruits are often less expensive than fresh and are just as nutritious, sometimes even more so because they're picked at peak ripeness and flash frozen. Frozen blueberries and cherries are readily available year-round and can be just as effective as fresh varieties. Tart cherry juice concentrate can be diluted to make multiple servings, making it more economical than buying fresh cherries. Consider buying in season when prices are lower and freezing portions for later use. Many stores offer discounts on fruit that's approaching its peak ripeness, which is perfect for immediate consumption. You can also look for deals at farmers markets where you might be able to buy directly from growers at lower prices. Seasonal availability is another consideration, but the beauty of focusing on these three specific fruits is that at least one of them is typically in season and affordable at any time of year. During summer months, fresh berries and cherries are abundant and reasonably priced. During winter, frozen options are readily available, and pineapple is often at its best quality and price. For those with digestive sensitivities, it's important to start slowly and gradually increase consumption. Some people find that eating large amounts of fruit all at once can cause digestive upset, bloating, or loose stools. This is usually temporary and resolves as your digestive system adjusts to the increased fiber intake. Begin with smaller portions and gradually increase over the course of several weeks. The fiber in these fruits is actually beneficial for digestive health and helps feed beneficial gut bacteria, but sudden increases in fiber intake can sometimes cause temporary discomfort while your microbiome adjusts. If you have a history of kidney stones, particularly those made of oxalates, you should be cautious with large amounts of certain fruits and discuss your dietary plans with your healthcare provider. While the fruits we've discussed are generally safe, individual medical histories can affect recommendations. It's also worth noting that while these fruits are incredibly beneficial, they're not magic bullets that will instantly cure chronic conditions that have developed over years or decades. Chronic inflammation often develops gradually over time, and while you may notice some improvements within weeks of changing your diet, the most significant and lasting benefits often develop over months of consistent, healthy eating. Some people experience noticeable changes within the first week, such as improved sleep quality, reduced morning stiffness, or slightly better energy levels. Others might not notice significant changes for several weeks or even months. This doesn't mean the fruits aren't working. It means your body is healing at its own pace, addressing damage that may have accumulated over years. Trust the process and stay consistent. Your cells are benefiting from the antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds even when you don't feel immediate changes. Your immune system is being supported, your DNA is being protected from damage, and your body's natural healing mechanisms are being enhanced. Let me share one more comprehensive story that illustrates the cumulative power of these anti-inflammatory fruits when used as part of a holistic approach to health and aging. Patricia is 79 years old and was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis 15 years ago. This autoimmune condition causes the immune system to attack the joints, leading to chronic inflammation, pain, stiffness, and progressive joint damage. For years, Patricia managed her condition with a complex regimen of medications, including methotrexate to suppress her immune system, biologics to target specific inflammatory pathways, and corticosteroids for flare-ups. While these medications helped control her symptoms to some degree, the side effects were becoming increasingly problematic and concerning. Her stomach was constantly upset from the methotrexate, requiring additional medications to protect her digestive system. The immune suppression made her prone to frequent infections, including several episodes of pneumonia that required hospitalization. The corticosteroids caused weight gain, mood swings, and bone loss that increased her fracture risk. Patricia felt like the medications were aging her faster than the arthritis itself. She was tired all the time, not just from the disease, but from the treatments. Her quality of life was severely compromised, and she was becoming increasingly dependent on others for daily activities that she had once performed easily. Patricia's granddaughter, who was studying nutritional science in graduate school, had been researching the connection between diet and autoimmune diseases. She shared several peer-reviewed studies with her grandmother, showing that certain foods could significantly reduce inflammatory markers and even help modulate immune system function in people with rheumatoid arthritis. Patricia was initially skeptical about the idea that food could help where powerful medications had only partially succeeded. But she was also desperate for an alternative approach that might allow her to reduce her dependence on drugs that were causing almost as many problems as they were solving. Working with her rheumatologist, Patricia decided to try incorporating anti-inflammatory foods into her diet while carefully monitoring her disease activity and inflammatory markers. She started slowly and methodically, adding just a half cup of blueberries to her morning routine during the first week. After 2 weeks with no adverse effects and some subjective improvement in energy levels, she added tart cherry juice with her afternoon snack. The cherry juice seemed to help with sleep quality almost immediately, and Patricia noticed that she was waking up feeling more rested and with less morning stiffness. A month later, after discussing it with her doctor, she began eating fresh pineapple mid-morning on an empty stomach to maximize the anti-inflammatory effects of bromelain. She also started incorporating other anti-inflammatory foods like fatty fish, leafy greens, nuts, and olive oil, while reducing her intake of processed foods, refined sugars, and red meat. Patricia wasn't expecting dramatic changes, but she wanted to give her body every possible advantage in fighting inflammation naturally. She approached the dietary changes with the same discipline she brought to taking her medications, viewing the fruits as therapeutic interventions rather than casual snacks. The changes were gradual, but undeniable. After 6 weeks, Patricia's morning stiffness was noticeably less severe and resolved more quickly. She was able to get out of bed and begin moving around without the usual 30-minute period of careful warming up that had become her routine. After 3 months, her energy levels had improved significantly. She was able to stay active later in the day without the crushing fatigue that had previously forced her to nap every afternoon. Her mood improved as she felt more capable and less dependent on others for daily tasks. After 6 months, Patricia's blood work showed such dramatic improvement in inflammatory markers that her rheumatologist was able to reduce one of her medications. Her C-reactive protein, which had been consistently elevated for years, dropped to normal levels. Her sedimentation rate, another measure of inflammation, showed similar improvement. But perhaps most importantly, Patricia felt like herself again. She had significantly more good days than bad days. She could play with her great-grandchildren without being completely exhausted afterward. She could enjoy activities like gardening, cooking, and social gatherings that had become too painful or tiring just months before. After a full year of consistent anti-inflammatory eating, Patricia had been able to reduce her medication burden by over 50%, while maintaining better disease control than she had achieved with higher doses of drugs. Her joint function had stabilized and in some cases improved. Her energy was the best it had been in years, and her overall quality of life had been transformed. Patricia's experience illustrates several crucial points about using food as medicine. First, the effects are cumulative and often take time to become apparent. Second, dietary interventions work best when combined with other healthy lifestyle practices. Third, working with healthcare providers to monitor progress and adjust treatments is essential for safety and optimal outcomes. Most importantly, Patricia's story shows that it's never too late to start supporting your body's natural healing mechanisms. At 79, dealing with a serious autoimmune condition for over a decade, she was still able to achieve remarkable improvements in her health and quality of life through consistent, evidence-based dietary choices. This brings us to an important point about expectations and mindset. In our quick-fix culture, we often expect immediate results from any health intervention. We want the pill that works overnight, the treatment that provides instant relief, the solution that requires minimal effort or lifestyle change. But chronic inflammation develops slowly, often over years or decades, and healing it naturally also takes time and patience. Think of it like tending a garden. You don't plant seeds and expect flowers the next day. You water them consistently, make sure they get enough sunlight, protect them from pests and harsh weather, and trust that with time and proper care, they will grow into something beautiful and nourishing. Your body responds to the same kind of patient, consistent care. Every day that you choose anti-inflammatory foods over pro-inflammatory ones, you're making a deposit in your health bank account. Some days you might not feel any different, but your cells are still benefiting from the antioxidants and protective compounds. Your immune system is still being supported and modulated. Your DNA is still being protected from damage. Your healing processes are still being enhanced. And here's something beautiful about this approach. Even if you have days when you don't eat perfectly, even if you occasionally choose foods that promote inflammation instead of fighting it, you haven't undone all your progress. Healing isn't all or nothing. It's about the overall pattern of your choices over time, the direction you're moving, and the cumulative effect of consistently supporting your body's natural wisdom. The three fruits we've discussed today, cherries, blueberries, and pineapple, are powerful tools in your fight against inflammation. But they're not just tools, they're delicious, satisfying, natural foods that can bring pleasure and enjoyment to your daily routine. Eating for health doesn't have to mean sacrificing taste or satisfaction. In fact, when you start feeling better as a result of your food choices, eating well becomes one of life's greatest pleasures. As we conclude this comprehensive exploration of these remarkable fruits, I want you to remember something fundamental. You have more control over your health and how you age than you might think. Chronic inflammation might feel like an inevitable part of getting older, but it's not. You can fight back effectively, and you can win this battle, not necessarily by taking more medications or submitting to more medical procedures, but by giving your body the natural tools it needs to heal itself. Your body has an incredible capacity for healing and regeneration. Even at advanced ages, your cells want to function optimally. Your immune system wants to protect you without causing unnecessary damage. Your tissues want to repair and regenerate. Sometimes all they need is the right support, the right nutrients, and the right environment to do what they're naturally designed to do. These three fruits can provide exactly that support. They offer your body concentrated doses of the specific compounds it needs to fight inflammation, protect against cellular damage, and support optimal function. They work with your body's natural healing mechanisms rather than against them, enhancing rather than suppressing your innate capacity for health and vitality. So tonight, as you plan tomorrow's meals and think about the choices you'll make, consider how you might incorporate these inflammation-fighting powerhouses into your routine. Maybe you'll start with just one fruit and see how you feel. Maybe you'll dive in and try all three from the beginning. There's no wrong way to start, only the decision to begin and the commitment to consistency. Remember Eleanor, who thought her painful arthritis was something she'd have to endure forever until she discovered the power of natural anti-inflammatory foods. Remember Robert, who believed his gout pain was an inevitable part of his future until he learned about the healing properties of cherries. Remember James, who was facing knee surgery until he experienced the remarkable effects of bromelain. Remember Patricia, who reduced her dependence on harsh medications by supporting her body's natural healing capacity. Their stories aren't unique or extraordinary. They're examples of what becomes possible when we stop accepting unnecessary suffering as inevitable and start giving our bodies the support they need to heal. Thousands of people are discovering every day that the right foods can transform their health in ways they never imagined possible. You could be next. Your journey toward better health, reduced inflammation, and improved quality of life can begin with something as simple as adding berries to your breakfast, sipping cherry juice in the evening, or enjoying fresh pineapple as a morning snack. Small changes, sustained over time, can lead to profound transformations in how you feel, how you move, and how you experience life. If this information has been helpful and given you hope for feeling better, please take a moment to like this video and share it with someone who might benefit from learning about these powerful fruits. Your share might be exactly what someone else needs to take that first step toward reclaiming their health and vitality. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel, because we're constantly researching and sharing evidence-based, practical strategies for feeling your best at every age. We're building a community of people who believe that aging doesn't have to mean declining, that the right knowledge and actions can help us stay vibrant and healthy throughout our lives. In the comments below, Let me know which of these three fruits you're most excited to try, or share your own experiences with anti-inflammatory foods. Have you noticed connections between what you eat and how you feel? Your story and insights might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to take action for their own health. Until next time, remember that every day is a new opportunity to nourish your body, reduce inflammation, and reclaim the vitality and comfort that are rightfully yours. Age might be just a number, but how you age, how you feel, how you move, how much you enjoy life, that's largely up to you and the choices you make every day. Make them count.